Imagine this, you're 30 years old, a billionaire, on the cover of Forbes, friends with global celebrities, and presidents line up to shake your hand. Your crypto exchange is valued at $32 billion. You are the second largest donor to the U.S. Democratic Party. You promise to donate $1 billion in the next election cycle. Now imagine all of it collapsing in just 72 hours. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't just lose his fortune, he carried out one of the largest financial frauds in history. $8 billion of client funds vanished. Millions of people lost their savings overnight. An exchange that seemed more reliable than a bank turned out to be a house of cards built on lies. But how was this even possible? How did a guy who slept on a beanbag in the office and played League of Legends during meetings with investors manage to deceive some of the smartest people on Wall Street? How did a company with Super Bowl ads and contracts with global stars turn out to be a pyramid scheme? This is a story about greed, ambition, and an entire industry that chose to ignore red flags the size of skyscrapers. A story about how a crypto genius turned out to be an ordinary fraudster. Today, we will break down the entire journey of FTX, from triumph to catastrophe. And trust me, reality will be stranger than any movie. Our story begins in 2017. Sam Bankman-Fried, an MIT graduate and former Wall Street trader, notices something strange in the cryptocurrency market. Bitcoin in Japan is trading about 10% higher than in the United States. Simple math: buy low, sell high. This strategy, known as arbitrage, earns him tens of millions of dollars in just a few months. In 2019, Sam founds the trading firm Alameda Research, but that's not enough for him. He sees that existing crypto exchanges work terribly. They lag, crash, and charge huge fees, and he decides to build his own. May 2019 marks the launch of FTX. The name stands for Futures Exchange. Sam positions FTX as a platform for professionals. A clean interface, low fees, advanced trading tools. And most importantly, he promises something the crypto market desperately lacks: reliability and transparency. Growth is explosive. Within the first year, trading volume reaches billions of dollars. Investors line up. Sequoia Capital, one of the most prestigious venture funds in the world, invests hundreds of millions. By 2021, celebrities from Tom Brady to Larry David are backing FTX. Sam becomes the face of a new crypto era. He appears on magazine covers, testifies before Congress, and dines with world leaders. His messy appearance, constant shorts, uncombed hair, living on a beanbag in the office, becomes part of the brand. He isn't a traditional banker in a suit. He's a rebel genius breaking the system. FTX buys the naming rights to a Miami arena for $135 million. It runs Super Bowl ads starring Larry David worth millions. It sponsors teams, festivals, and charitable projects. By the summer of 2022, the company's valuation reaches an astonishing $32 billion. Sam publicly promises to give away nearly all of his wealth to charity. He becomes a symbol of effective altruism, the philosophy of maximizing good by maximizing wealth. Everyone admires this guy who makes billions to save the world. But behind the scenes, a catastrophe is already brewing. The problem existed from the very beginning, but no one wanted to see it. FTX and Alameda Research were two separate companies on paper, but in reality, they were one and the same. And between them existed a dangerous connection. Imagine a bank that gives special privileges to one client. Not just privileges. That client can spend other depositors' money without their knowledge. That's exactly how FTX and Alameda worked. Sam's trading firm gained access to customer funds on the exchange. At first, these were temporary loans for trading. Alameda supposedly used the money for profitable trades that would benefit everyone. But over time, the amounts grew. Hundreds of millions turned into billions. The money went into risky bets, investments in dozens of startups, real estate purchases in the Bahamas, and political donations. Inside the company, chaos reigned. FTX employees later testified that there was no proper accounting system. Financial records were kept in Excel spreadsheets. There was no board of directors, no internal controls. Key decisions were made by Sam and a small inner circle, many of whom were romantically involved with each other. Caroline Ellison, the head of Alameda Research and Sam's former girlfriend, managed massive funds with little oversight. In personal diaries that later became evidence, she wrote about feeling overwhelmed and afraid of being exposed. In the summer of 2022, the crypto market collapses. Bitcoin falls from $69,000 to $20,000. Exchanges and projects go bankrupt one after another. Panic spreads across the market. And then Sam steps in as the industry's savior. FTX issues hundreds of millions in loans to struggling companies, preventing their collapse. Everyone applauds. The media calls him the J.P. Morgan of crypto, comparing him to the legendary banker who saved the economy in 1907. But there was a problem. The money Sam was so generously handing out wasn't his. It belonged to FTX customers. By the fall of 2022, the hole in the balance sheet reached $8 billion. $8 billion in client funds had vanished into the black hole of Alameda Research, and hiding it was becoming increasingly difficult. November 2nd, 2022, the beginning of the end. CoinDesk publishes an article about the balance sheet of Alameda Research. Journalists discover that a large portion of Alameda's assets consists of FTT, FTX's own token. Essentially, one of Sam's companies held the tokens issued by his other company. It was like a bank holding its reserves in its own stock. The market grew cautious, but real panic began 4 days later. On November 6th, the head of the competing exchange Binance, Changpeng Zhao, known as CZ, tweets that Binance will sell all of its FTT tokens worth over $500 million. He vaguely hints at recently revealed information. That tweet triggers an avalanche. FTX customers rush to withdraw their funds. In a single day, withdrawal requests reach $6 billion. FTX freezes withdrawals. Panic becomes universal. On November 8th, Sam is desperate. He contacts CZ, and Binance publicly announces its intention to acquire FTX. Salvation? For a few hours, the market calms down. But when Binance's team begins reviewing FTX's documents, they are horrified. The next day, November 9th, Binance backs out of the deal. The official statement cites news regarding mishandling of customer funds and investigations by U.S. agencies. A death sentence. On November 10th, FTX files for bankruptcy. More than 100 affiliated companies collapse with it. Sam resigns as CEO. But even in these final hours, he continues to lie, tweeting to customers that their assets are safe and that he will find a solution. The scale of the disaster is staggering. Over 1 million creditors, $8 billion missing. People lost life savings, pensions, money meant for medical treatment. Some had invested everything they owned, trusting FTX's reliability. The new CEO appointed for the bankruptcy process, John Ray, the same man who handled Enron, one of the largest corporate scandals in history, stated that he had never seen such chaos. No records, commingled personal and corporate funds, billions gone without a trace. In 72 hours, a $32 billion empire turned to ashes. The story could have ended with bankruptcy, but that was only the beginning of the legal drama. On December 12, 2022, Sam Bankman-Fried is arrested in the Bahamas at the request of the United States. He is charged with securities fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. But Sam doesn't go quietly. He gives interviews, appears on podcasts, and launches an aggressive PR campaign. His defense? He's just a bad manager who made mistakes, not a criminal. It was an accounting error. He didn't know what was going on. The problem is that the evidence said otherwise. Internal messages showed that Sam was fully aware of the misuse of customer funds. Caroline Ellison and other top executives agreed to cooperate with prosecutors and testified against him. In October 2023, the trial begins. Sam tries to play the role of a distracted mathematical genius, but the jury isn't convinced. On November 2nd, exactly 1 year after the CoinDesk article, the verdict is delivered. Guilty on all 7 counts. March 2024, sentencing, 25 years in prison. The judge calls his testimony blatantly false and notes a complete lack of genuine remorse. Sam is also ordered to pay $11 billion in restitution. What remains of FTX? Destroyed lives, lost savings, and massive questions for the entire crypto industry. How did this happen? Why did venture funds managing billions fail to conduct proper due diligence? Why didn't regulators notice the red flags? Why did celebrities promote a product they didn't understand? The FTX story is a lesson in what happens when greed overrides common sense, when reputation matters more than facts, when a PR machine replaces real oversight. But there is another lesson. Despite all the chaos in the crypto industry, the justice system worked. The fraudster was sentenced. Victims are receiving at least partial compensation through the bankruptcy process. Sam Bankman-Fried dreamed of changing the world through effective altruism. In the end, he did change it, by proving that even in the world of cryptocurrency, you cannot escape responsibility for your actions, and that a loud name on a magazine cover can never replace honesty and transparency. The FTX story is over. The lessons remain.